ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ US ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਡੇ ਤੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਨਿਊ ਈਅਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਸੁਣੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਸੀਡਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ। ਉਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਨਿਊਯਾਰਕ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਟਸ, ਅਫੈਕਟਡ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟਸ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੀਆਂ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਅੱਜ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਔਰ ਜਸਟਿਸਿਸ, ਜੱਜਿਸ ਤੇ ਮੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਰਿਲੀਫ ਦੇ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸੁਣਨ। ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਟਸ ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਮੰਗ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ ਕਿ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਓਬਾਮਾ ਦੇ ਐਗਜ਼ੀਕਿਊਟਿਵ ਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਖੀਰਲਾ ਲੀਗਲ ਰੁਕਾਵ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਹਟਾ ਕੇ ਪਾਸ ਕਰ ਦੇਣ ਤੇ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਦੇਣ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੀਗਲੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਸਕਣ ਅਤੇ ਇਸ ਡਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾ ਰਹਿਣ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਵਿਛੋੜਿਆ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਿਊਯਾਰਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਿਊਯਾਰਕ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਕੋਲੀਸ਼ਨ ਤੋਂ Tanu Yakupete-Yage ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਣਗੇ। Hello Tanu, and thank you for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Tanu, it has been over a year since President Obama announced an executive order to provide up to 4 million undocumented immigrants the ability to live and work in the United States without fear of deportation. In New York, the executive order would provide relief for 500,000 New Yorkers. But in early 2015, as you guys had said, opponents did their best to block it, inflicting fear and pain on millions of undocumented parents and their U.S. citizen children. This is something your coalition is fighting for. How do your chances look now, and what response have you received so far for this fight?
So what we're doing now is that we are calling on the Supreme Court of the United States to take on the case of immigration relief. They are meeting tomorrow, Friday, and that tomorrow is the first day of their sessions where they review different cases and they decide which cases to take. And what we're saying to them is that the case of immigration relief has been delayed for over a year now, and that it's really time that this goes through. As you said, millions of immigrants across the country could benefit from DACA and DAPA. In New York, 500,000 immigrants could benefit. And basically what opponents have been doing have been trying to delay it so that it won't go through. And what we're saying to the Supreme Court is that our communities want justice, and we think that this case is something that they really should be taking up because the merits of the executive actions were being questioned, and really they can clear this up and they can pass DACA and DAPA so that we can finally implement these executive actions in the summer of this year.
Is this the first time that your coalition has brought this forward to New York Supreme Court, or has this been addressed before to the Supreme Court to include this in there?
So last year, the case, when the case was initially delayed, it was delayed in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and they continued to keep an injunction on immigration relief. So this is the first time the case is being brought to the Supreme Court. So this is the first time that the NYC and our national advocates across the country are fighting for this to be heard by the Supreme Court, yes.
So now this is the first time the opening to bring this case to Supreme Court, who now has the opportunity to hear this case and finally remove this barrier, allowing potentially millions of Americans, immigrants, to change their lives for better. Advocacy, like you said, from DACA and DAPA continues while communities remain in fear of deportations, and the recent ICE raids, like we spoke last week, on Central American families have reinstilled panic into communities across the country. With this being the election year, and we already can hear loud and clear what some candidates think about immigrants, what are the chances Supreme Court will remove these barriers? I know you guys are pushing really hard, but realistically, how does it look?
So, what's happening in terms of, what we see on TV and with the presidential elections and with candidates have nothing to do with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court are not influenced by it. They should not be influenced by it. The Supreme Court, this is the very same Supreme Court who ensured that gay marriage was something that was legal in all 50 states. And so, this is the Supreme Court that has heard different types of cases in which the constitutionality of those cases have been questioned. And so the Supreme Court is really there to, exercise their best judgment and to support communities in the United States. And so we hope and we, urge the Supreme Court to not give in to this hateful rhetoric and this, nonsensical approach that some of the candidates have been taking in their push to become the president. The Supreme Court, they represent the people, and it is up to 5 million people in the United States who need and could benefit from immigration relief.
So you know what? I will ask this question before we go. how soon before your coalition or everyone finds out? Is it tomorrow itself, or will you have to wait a little longer to find out if Supreme Court will include this?
So there's 3 different times that the Supreme Court will meet in the next month and a half to review which cases they'll take up. So the Supreme Court doesn't decide on this tomorrow. There are 2 other opportunities for the Supreme Court to decide this, the last being February 22nd. And so if on one of these days the Supreme Court decides to take up immigration relief, then they have the opportunity to basically decide on its constitutionality and let it go into place by the summer of 2016.
You know what? Thank you so much for giving that information. And of course, we do wish you all the best with this cause, and we do hope it gets included soon. But do keep us posted how it works out so we can share that information with our viewers further.
Great, we'll do that.
Thank you, Tanu.
Thank you.
Hun velak choti ji break ta. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.